Here we are in 2025, and the Phoenix Suns, a team that hoped for a championship this season, are under 500. They recently suffered a loss at home to the Memphis Grizzlies, who played without John Morant. In that matchup, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker were all on the court, their supposed big three aimed at leading the Suns to success. Currently, the Phoenix Suns sit at the 11th seed in the Western Conference, just out of a play-in tournament position. They rank as the 24th the best defense in the NBA and stand 19th overall in net rating, which is inadequate. The Suns have had defensive difficulties this year, allowing 138 points to the New York Knicks, 127 to the Brooklyn Nets, and 126 to the New Orleans Pelicans, a team with one of the worst offenses this season. They also surrendered 121 points to Miami, 115 to Orlando, 126 to Utah, and 133 to Detroit. Lately, the Suns have faced a tough schedule against several Western Conference teams, including Memphis, Golden State, Dallas, and Denver. However, these were winnable matches. Dallas is without Luka Doncic, and the Golden State Warriors aren't as formidable as they once seemed. Yet, their next games include a trip to Charlotte and home games against Atlanta, Utah, and a second match against Charlotte, as well as several contests against Southwest Division teams, which could be suitable games for the Phoenix Suns now that their core trio is healthy and YF and Kit will no longer be serving a suspension. But if they cannot finish that stretch multiple games above 500, we won't take them seriously at all as even a playoff contender this year. In postseason play, having defensive capability is essential, and we observed how much they struggled defensively against Minnesota last year. What has changed? Are they really going to place all this pressure on rookie Ryan Dunn to rescue them in the playoffs? That's not going to set them up for success, and this squad already has a new head coach after firing Frank Vogel just 1 year into his tenure in Phoenix. They've now turned to Mike Booner, who I believe is a better coach than Vogel, but is it truly making a significant impact? I don't think so. This team is currently investing $100 million in Kevin Durant over the next 2 years. Bradley Beal is set to earn over $150 million for the next 3 years, and Devin Booker is looking at over $200 million for the next 4 years. It wasn't long ago that the Phoenix Suns were among the top teams, if not the best, in the NBA. They lost the 2021 NBA Finals to the Milwaukee Bucks and then finished as the top regular season team at the end of that 2022 campaign, but they got upset by the Dallas Mavericks soon after. Following that, they executed a major trade by going all in for Kevin Durant from the Brooklyn Nets, and a year later, they attempted to create a big three in Phoenix by acquiring Bradley Beal from the Washington Wizards. Back in the day when the NBA wasn't as skilled as today, forming a big three was more feasible with surrounding players who weren't as exceptional. Nowadays, teams require a roster deep with 7 to 9 capable players to compete, as every franchise is packed with talent. The league dynamics have changed significantly since the days of LeBron in Miami or Kobe in LA. When reflecting on the Kevin Durant trade, which involved sending away Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and numerous future first-round picks, many of which have yet to convey it, was indeed a bold move to establish a team around Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Although the 2023 Suns with KD in the playoffs were eliminated in round 2 by the Denver Nuggets in 6 games, it's worth noting that the Nuggets were the eventual champions, led by Nikola Jokic as the league's best player. When Kevin Durant was healthy that season, they showcased strong offensive play. However, during that offseason, they opted to trade Chris Paul for Bradley Beal, marking the beginning of the Phoenix Suns' decline. It was widely recognized that Bradley Beal held one of the least favorable contracts in the NBA, as he is one of 2 players with a no-trade clause, the other being LeBron James, who many argue is the greatest player of all time, which is understandable. He has a no-trade clause, and Bradley Beal signed that Supermax extension with the Washington Wizards, who were the sole team willing to offer him that level of compensation. Naturally, they could provide him with that 5th-year player option in 2027, allowing Bradley Beal to earn $57 million. While I can't foresee the future, I can assure you he'll opt into that deal. Besides bringing in Bradley Beal as a 3rd scoring option and paying him the highest salary in the NBA at that time, this team lacks ownership of any of their future first-round picks directly. They either go to another team or are involved in a swap that could diminish their positioning in that draft. Consequently, This team is unable to endure a subpar season or a rebuilding year in any capacity. Additionally, another trade that hasn't proven favorable for Phoenix at the moment is the three-team trade from September 2023, with the main highlight being Damian Lillard heading to the Milwaukee Bucks. In this deal, they sent DeAndre Ayton and Toumani Camara to the Portland Trail Blazers, receiving Jusuf Nurkic, Keon Johnson, Nasir Little, and Grayson Allen in return. Currently, two of those players, Keon Johnson and Nasir Little, have become insignificant, while Grayson Allen performed quite well for the Phoenix Suns last season, ranking as one of the top three-point shooters in the NBA during the 2024 season. They committed over $70 million to Grayson Allen over the next 4 years, but this season he hasn't matched his performance from last year. He averaged 13.5 points last season, which has dropped to 10.1 this year. His three-point shooting went from 46% last year to 37% this season, while his overall field goal percentage decreased from 49% last year to 40% this year. Additionally, they acquired what can be considered the worst starting center in the NBA through this trade, Jusuf Nurkic. While I'm not claiming DeAndre Ayton is significantly better than Nurkic, the latter is only averaging 8 points and 9 rebounds, shooting 30% from beyond the arc, and displaying poor defense that I've witnessed from a starting center, especially from one that aspires to secure a championship. Reports suggest that Phoenix might contemplate trading their 2031 first-round pick to alleviate Nurkic's salary or to bring someone else in, which is quite absurd. This team is unlikely to clinch a title, even if they trade that first-round pick alongside Nurkic, unless they manage to obtain Nikola Jokic or Anthony Davis in exchange. I wouldn't feel assured that this team could reach the NBA Finals, much less the Western Conference Finals, considering how competitive the Western Conference is this year, and with Kevin Durant being 36 and still under contract next year, which raises the question of whether to trade him. KD is performing at an MVP level, averaging 27 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 4 assists this season with impressive efficiency, 50% shooting from the field, 40% from three, and over 80% from the free throw line. Although he's faced a couple of injuries this year, he doesn't appear to have lost any offensive ability. This is likely why Houston aimed to trade with Brooklyn last offseason. They offered to return Brooklyn's first-round picks while taking believing Phoenix's collapse was inevitable, thus providing a lifeline, give us a good player in return for your draft picks. The trade value of a 36-year-old Kevin Durant, with an expiring contract next year, might not be as high as we expect, and certainly won't match what they initially gave for him when he was traded from Brooklyn. This leads to another question: should you trade Devin Booker, who's 28 and under contract for the next 4 years? He could significantly enhance your return package compared to Durant, in my view. But it's a high-risk move since Devin is a homegrown talent and your best homegrown star of the 21st century, even if he's having a bit of a down year. This year, he is shooting 42% from the floor and 34% from beyond the arc, yet he's still putting up 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 6.5 assists. We've seen a significant sample size of Devin Booker performing much more efficiently than this season, so I consider this to be an outlier year. However, things could turn bleak for the Phoenix Suns if they come to the realization that they can't achieve anything with the current roster in the Western Conference. They are currently in the second apron and can't afford to pay any additional taxes moving forward. I know Matt HB has invested a lot into building a win-now team, but if they repeat as a tax-paying team in the second apron, they'll risk losing a first-round pick in the future. They also can't engage in the buyout market or acquire more salary than they trade away, leaving them financially constrained in improving the team. This situation will make it exponentially harder to construct a competitive team in today's NBA. There was speculation regarding Bradley Beal's interest or potential interest in Jimmy Butler, however. For Beal to move to Miami, he would need to waive his no-trade clause, which would likely require the attachment of a first-round pick in 2031 or a swap to finalize the transaction. The question remains, why would Miami want Bradley Beal? I previously mentioned that he has one of the worst contracts in the NBA, if not the worst, and Miami is currently facing their own dilemma with Jimmy Butler. I don't believe they want to move from Jimmy Butler to Bradley Beal and take on his salary long-term, while losing salary cap flexibility that they could have had if they managed to trade Jimmy Butler for expiring contracts or a less detrimental deal than Beal's. I must commend Phoenix for their performance in the 2024 draft, particularly snagging Ryan Dunn at the end of the first round, which I found to be an outstanding choice. I was impressed by Dunn's defensive skills out of Virginia and believe they got him around 10 spots too late. Additionally, I like Oso Iduo from Marquette, as he is a savvy player with a high basketball IQ. I feel they executed well in that 2024 draft, but I doubt it will suffice for them. They won't possess the bird rights to resign Tyus Jones after this year, lack future draft picks, and do not have a solid young core. Yes, they have Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant, but Durant is already 36 and will become a free agent after the 2026 season, while Beal is 31, drifting further from his standout days with the Wizards. I'm genuinely concerned about the future of the Phoenix Suns because things could turn bad really fast. So, share your thoughts on the Phoenix Suns' future in the comments. Do you feel I'm being too critical, or do you see a more optimistic outlook than I suggested? Or do you think we might witness a significant trade where teams like the San Antonio Spurs, Houston Rockets, or OKC Thunder, or even the Brooklyn Nets might come into play trying to acquire Devin Booker instead of Kevin Durant? So give a thumbs up if you enjoyed this, share your opinions below, subscribe if you haven't, and turn on notifications. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.